Hey Trails Collective, Ian here for the weekly rundown of what's been shaking in the Northeast trail scene and community for the week ending May 14th, 2021. Alright, so I'll take you through a couple of the headlines, some of the events that registrations are opening this week, some events that are about to cap out in registration, as well as take you through some of the voices for two of the events that ran this past weekend. Alright, so let's get into it. In the media, more than half of Virginia's gas stations are now out of fuel, with shortages also in surrounding states, giving you all more reason to extend your mileage this week. Matt Lipsy feels that trail users shouldn't pick up their dog's poop. Ironman takes over a minority shareholding and partnership with UTMB, much to the ire of many in the ultra and trail community, and in hopes clearly of trying to have more Type A personalities in matching unis trying to infiltrate our community of dirtbag runners. And Ron Herkins Jr. captured the most beautiful mid-race photo I've ever seen of the svelte Jay Lemos mid-Breakneck Point climb. And it's been modified quite a few times so far, landing with this gem. All right, registration's opening. Ty Dalton Trail Challenge slated for November 14th in Waterville, PA, opens May 14th. Sterling Furnace Half Marathon 15K and half in Tuxedo, New York goes live May 15th. That is also a fundraiser for the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference and some beautiful trails, so check that out. And one of the largest events in our region, the Heiner Trail Challenge 25K, 50K, slated for April 23rd, 2022. Is about to also open registration on May 15th. And the Notchview Ultra 12, 24, and 48 hours scheduled for September 11th, also opening May 15th. All right, UltraSignUp hot list for events about to cap out. Eastern Divide 50K slated for June 19th in Pembroke, Virginia is up 4% to being 96% full. The Midstate Massive Ultra Trail 30 miler New Ipswich, New Hampshire is up 2% to being 96% full. The Nipmuc South Trail Race, scheduled for June 13th in Mansfield, Connecticut, had 12 spots remaining as of me filming right now. And the Slate Run 25K, running on June 5th in Slate Run, PA, as well as the First State Trail 10K in Wilmington, Delaware, have both entered the warning track at 90% full. Got a handful of FKTs so far that have come in over this past week. Multi-state effort. Riley Shui, 9 hours, 26 minutes for the 45-mile AT 4-state challenge, running through the AT through PA, Maryland, West Virginia, and Virginia, lowering the prior women's unsupported mark by over an hour. In Connecticut, Ben Quattromoni, 5 hours, 18 minutes for the East Branch of the Nipmuc Trail, an opening supported men's mark. This is over an hour quicker than Dan Grip's unsupported mark from 2020. So knowing how quick Dan Grip is, Ben was flying out there. Allison Mesa, 14 hours, 24 minutes for the 61-mile New England Gem, which is the Metacomet Trail. Should be noted, this is an unsupported, not only an unsupported opening mark, but it's also 3 hours faster than Art Byram ran in 2016. 3 hours, Art. Should beat you by over 3 hours. In Massachusetts, Keith Nadeau. Keith, send me an email or something. I'm still not sure if I'm pronouncing your last name right, or a Facebook message or something. Keith Nadeau, 5 hours, 25 minutes for the double out and back version of the Blue Hills Skyline Trail. Pretty awesome gain of over an hour from the last time he held the mark a little bit over a year ago. In New York, Rob Rao, 3 hours, 26 minutes for the Fred J. Cusimano West Side Overland Trail, a 25K point-to-point in far western New York, which I didn't even know existed, and I have been in and out of that area a bit, and I'll have to check it out at some point, particularly as it appears to run right next to the beautiful Panama Rocks. In PA, Jordan Koppenhafer, set a new unsupported mark of 1 day, 8 hours, 3 minutes for the rugged and beautiful 84-mile Standing Stone Trail. And in Virginia, Joshua Goad, 2 hours, 10 minutes for the Peaks of Otter, a 3-peak gem in the Blue Ridge offering 4,000 feet of gain over 11 miles. It's pretty solid. All right, so getting into results. There were two on my radar from this past weekend, and two of, I guess, ones with, higher profile, so to speak, in our region. The first one was the Dirty German Endurance Fest. This is one of the largest historically in our area. Runs in Pennypack Park in Philadelphia, PA. They have a 25K, 50K, 50 mile. And even this year, with the COVID modifications and run-up, I think still had over 800 some finishers, so maybe 1,000 entrants. So definitely one of the bigger races put on by the crew at Uber Endurance Sports. A really nice community. The courses generally are pretty flowing and pretty quick, and a pretty cool low-key scene. So this week I got 3 clips. I was able to connect with 3 individuals from the Dirty German. First one will be Sarah Zieden Weber, who finished 9th in her division for the 50K. Sarah, cue us into how it was from your vantage point.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm here to talk about the Dirty German. So this weekend I did the Dirty German 50K. There were options for a 25K, a 50K, and a 50 miler. The course is located in Pennypack Park, which is technically part of Philadelphia. But when you're out on the course, you don't realize that you're in a city. It doesn't look like a city. It doesn't feel like a city. It doesn't sound like a city. You're just out on these like beautiful neon green trails. And, so it had a really nice feel to it. The course was really, really well marked. There was pink ribbon everywhere. It wasn't like a technical course or anything. No crazy climbs, no crazy rocks or roots or anything. Definitely a really runnable course. So there were people out there doing their first, 25K, first 50K, first 50 miler. I think the course really lent itself to that. So there's some single track, there's some carriage roads when you're running by the creek, and there was some pavement too. So overall, a really, really nice course, like a beginner friendly course, I would say. The only thing that made it a little bit more challenging was that, the day before and the night before and early that morning, there was some rain. So, it was really, really muddy, which just kind of added to the fun. So depending on the distance, you do 1, 2, or 3 loops with some extra miles added in. So for the 50K, I did 2 loops of the course. So for, the second loop, I was able to come back to my area before going out again. So I was able to do, a quick sock change, take care of my feet, and, go back out there. There were aid stations every like 3-4 miles. So they were like perfectly spread apart. And the aid station volunteers were unbelievable. They were so helpful, so attentive. As I'm running in, what do you need? Do you need anything? Can I get you something? Which was really nice. They were really, encouraging and positive. I know they had a lot of restrictions. So they weren't able to serve any hot food. So like none of like the bacon or the sauerkraut or the potato pancakes, that they're known for. But they did have like a good selection of prepackaged things. So they had cookies, chips, candy, Rice Krispie treats, water or Gatorade, soda, so that was really nice. And like I said, really spread out, just at the perfect distance. When you're out on the course, I think the race sold out. So, at most parts, like I saw other runners out there. Everyone's, just really happy, positive, encouraging and whatever. So it was really, a good experience overall. And then for finishing, you get a jacket, a hat, and a nice medal. And, at like the start finish area, people had set up their chairs, their tents. So it was a really, nice environment to hang out in afterwards. Like I said, overall, a very runnable course, very, beginner friendly. So if you're looking for a race, to try out that new distance, this was a really good course for that. And, an overall really just good vibe to it. And I had a really great experience with the race. I beat my previous 50K time, which is always nice to have a PR day. And, really well organized, really well maintained. So I'll definitely be looking, for more races by this race director in the future. Thank you for having me again, and see you soon.
And then also 2 clips from the 2 winners of the 50-mile division. Overall winner Brandon Talisesky, as well as Melissa Morland. Melissa having a pretty good run of events and pretty fit at the moment. So we will let you both take it. Brandon and Melissa, cue us into Dirty German.
Hi everyone, this is Brandon Talisesky out of New York City, and I just ran the Dirty German 50-mile race outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania this past weekend. I first heard of the Dirty German 50-miler when actually I had some friends in college who ran the Dirty German 50-kilometer race. So that kind of sparked my interest in trying to get involved in somewhat of the ultra running scene, as I was just getting into marathoning, but it also seemed like a very cool idea to try to test your limits and do a race. So this race was always in the back of my mind to do. I signed up for this race last year, and unfortunately it was canceled due to COVID. So I rolled it forward and did the race this year in preparation for my target race this spring, which will be the New York 100-mile race at the end of June. The race itself, I felt very confident, very prepared coming in. I ran a couple races earlier this year and also had some very good training runs, so I was very optimistic coming into the event. I also knew about the race course itself. It's 3 loops in Pennypack Park, so it's not super technical for trail running standards. There's not many hills. There's a couple of creeks you can cross, which is great. And I knew the aid station would be fantastic from many of the other Uber endurance events that I've done. The race itself, I had a great time. Ultimately, I won the race, which is really neat. I set a personal record as well, running 6 hours and 31 minutes. So I'm feeling very confident, feeling very happy. And looking forward to the next 6 to 7 weeks in preparation and tapering for my target race, the Great New York 100.
Hey everybody, I'm Melissa Morland from Bel Air, Maryland. And this past Saturday, I ran the Dirty German Endurance Festival 50-miler. So this is my second time participating in this event. I ran the 50K in 2019, but this was my first 50-miler. I was set to run my first 50-miler at the Bull Run in April last year. Unfortunately, that, along with most races in 2020, were canceled. Although racing was canceled, running continued to keep me sane by getting outside safely with my friends, but I really did miss the organized events. I was scheduled to run Hat this past March, but that also was canceled and went virtual. I still did run it. I ran it one weekend for my own race, the next weekend to support a friend, and then 2 weeks later, I ran my first organized and in-person event of 2021, the Rattling Creek Run. After 3 50Ks in 4 weeks, I decided I'm probably trained for a 50-miler, so I signed up for the Dirty German once I realized that would be a live event. The race director and all the volunteers did an amazing job navigating the COVID restrictions that Philadelphia put on them. They could not hand out anything except for prepackaged food, so there was no cooking or any of our normal German sauerkraut and kielbasa, but they kept us fed and they kept us hydrated. The course is a figure 8. It is mostly single track. There's a little bit of paved area. The 50K is the 25K looped twice, and the 50-miler is the 25K looped 3 times, with a little over a mile tacked on. We started in wave starts, which was really nice to begin with because there was no backups on the single track getting started. However, I was in the first wave and we went out a little fast. So after I was keeping up with the lead pack, I decided I needed to remind myself my goal here was to finish. It was my first 50-miler. So I held back just a little bit, let a different female take the lead, and started running my race. Luckily, the race course was really well marked. If you know me, I have no sense of direction and I can easily get lost. I was running by myself a lot of the time, or maybe only a couple other runners in sight for that first loop. That changed a lot on the second loop. At that point, the 25K and the 50K runners were all out on the course, so there was a lot of other people to pass. A lot of other things happened on the second loop. One, I went down in the mud, took a mudslide. It was muddy. I also passed the other female lead, and I kept that lead. The weather forecast looked terrible going into the race, but it ended up being almost perfect. There were low humidity, low temps, a little chill at the start, and there was no rain, but there was mud, and the mud didn't get any better with 950 pairs of feet running on it 1 to 3 or even 6 times on that out and back section. I made sure I would stop and hydrate, fill up my small flask on each aid station and grab something small. But my husband handed me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every time I passed that start and finish line to make sure that I had some protein. And on the second loop, he offered me dry shoes and dry socks, which felt amazing after 33 miles of mud and wet with the creek crossings. In the end, I surprised myself with a finish of 8:26:05 and the female win.
Thank you. Hi, babe. I think so.
I think you are. Is she number one woman? Number one!
My goal was to finish running and finish smiling, and that I did. Next up, I'm hoping to complete the Mason-Dixon Longest Day 100K Challenge on June 19th. And after that, I'll probably enjoy my summer and then start getting ready for some fall and winter events, including Patapsco Valley 50K and the Algonquin 50K. Keep running.
All right, and then in my lineup for my event company, Red Newt Racing, we put on, myself and co-RD, Ben Drew, put on the Breakneck Point Trail runs in Beacon, New York. Breakneck is pretty impressively, it's a pretty impressive course for just an hour north of New York City. Has some of the most elevation gain per mile, as well as some of probably the most technical pitches of any, well, I would guess probably in the U.S. Some of the pitches have more hand over hand, hand over foot climbing in a couple of the sections.
Yep.
The marathon has roughly 8,700 feet of gain, and the half has between 47 and I think 5,000 feet of gain. Really nice, temperature day for it. We ended up having rain from, I think, straight from 8 a.m. to 4. That made the rock a bit slicker, so plenty of pretty much scraped knees, bloody lower legs out there, but thankfully no injuries, or heavy injuries. Big shout out to the Misty Mountain Runners, a running club that I think was first cued into maybe last year, maybe the year before, based out in New Jersey, New York City area, but really just amazing energy out of that crew. Very supportive, very positive, really cool just to see you all gelling and supporting not only your own, but everybody out there. So it was great to have you. I think there was maybe like 80 people running Breakneck and another maybe 20 that were there just supporting or taking photos. But a big shout out to the Misty Mountain crew. And also some really solid performances. The half was won by Lee Berube. The prior course record was lowered last year by another pretty stellar individual, Aaron Newell. Aaron focuses largely on OCR and focusing on national and world championship events, but a really phenomenal athlete. He lowered Matt Lipsey's prior mark last year to, I think it was 209, I think he brought it down to. If I remember it, I actually can look real quick. Yeah, 209. This year we had two runners that were underneath it. Both Steve Lang, who finished second in 207, as well as Lee Berube. Just incredible runs out there. Lee establishing the new mark of 203. And then we also had a new course record set this year on the in the women's field for the half, set by the wicked strong and tough Michelle Merlis. And Michelle, I'm going to cue you in here to take us through Breakneck Point and the half. All right, so how was the day?
All right. Well, as you can see, it is raining, but it was fantastic. Honestly, great running out there, nice and cool, and the trails were brutal. And
you said mid-race you had done the full earlier.
So you kind of knew what to expect, and
Yeah, so I did the full 5 years ago, so I knew a little bit of what to expect. Yeah, so I had done the full 5 years ago, so I knew what I was in for, and of course, in my mind, the full is so much longer than the half, so I figured it'd be a lot easier. I've also been coming down here pretty much every weekend and just checking out the course. Last weekend I did a course preview, so I ran the course, made sure I knew what the course was, kind of made my mental check marks of where I was going to open up, where I was going to slow down. Yeah, so I got very familiar, and that's kind of been my process the past couple of years, is like learn a new place, come out, explore, and then run a race.
Sweet.
I love it.
And this was a build up. You said you have Loon, and you also have the mountain running championships, so this is good early base work.
This is good early base work. I think it's also a little bit of testing the winter of mostly being on roads, kind of getting back into trails in the spring, and then yeah, I'm running Loon in July, and then I'll be out in Oregon running the U.S. Mountain Running Championships at Narnar.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Cool. And Narnar, I mean, the elevation gain I think is decent, but it's nothing too excessive, right? So I mean, you're going to have some good climbing under your legs and be pretty prepped for it.
Yeah, that's the hope. I think I might come back down here. I don't know if you can tell from the video, but going up to that top peak there, it's a nice climb. You know, like 2.5 miles to the top from the start here.
Yep.
Yeah, so Narnar has about 2,000 feet. It's 2,000 feet up and then 2,000 feet down over 6 miles. So, yeah, not a ton of climbing. I mean, I think today it's close to between 4,000 and 5,000. So, of course, over a shorter distance, but also straight up and straight down.
Right.
So this is great preparation, because you get that straight up in the beginning and then the straight down at the end. And I kind of love that. So.
And then otherwise tough to comment on, I guess, competition with like rolling starts and wave starts. It's like who knows who's doing what or where's where, and
yeah, I think it kind of presents a little bit of it's a little bit of a challenge, because you don't really know where you stand. But I actually think that over the past year I've come to really enjoy that format, because it feels a little bit more like FKTs, and at least for me, I don't feel as much pressure. I just feel like, you know, it's me versus me every single time I'm on the line. It does take a little bit of the race tactic away, but I feel like that makes me push harder to, you know, run as fast as I can, because you never know who could be in front of you or who's going to pass you from a later wave. So yeah,
there is that angle. Well, well, nice work. Anything you want to plug about the event or the course or race or anything?
Oh, well, everyone should come run this event. It's absolutely awesome. All of your races, Ian's races, are awesome. There's usually great competition, a really great environment. The course, I would say, the course was super well marked. The volunteers were awesome. And Beacon is a cool place. So definitely, I think if you can make a weekend out of it coming here to run this race, that's really awesome. And I know some of your other races, like Ithaca is an awesome place. If you're going to do Cayuga. Yeah, you put on some cool races in some cool places.
Cool destination. So,
yeah.
Cool.
It's good stuff.
Well, you look good out there. It was great to have you. And I was supposed to be in Loon and my daughter as well, but we can't make it this year. But I'll see how you did. And
all right.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And Michelle's time out there, the new course mark there is 2:36. And then in the marathon, also some really impressive performances. Not course records this year. We've got some pretty fast records set for that marathon course, but some pretty stellar performances. Riley Brady ran an awesome, I think, consistent race out there for the overall women's win in the marathon. And Riley, I will cue you in here. So Riley, you had a good day out there today.
Yes, it was a pretty good day. I could have done without some of the rain towards the end, where it was getting pretty slick and cold, but I felt strong for the most part. Had a good time.
And stayed on your feet? I mean, I know it's getting pretty slick out there, pretty slimy.
Mostly. I had a few close calls, and I went down a couple times, but nothing. I don't think I drew blood, so that's a win.
And and out here there was a good amount of, I think, blood out there. A lot.
Yes.
Breakneck, and but speaks to the technicality. But you mentioned you had raced this once before, so you kind of knew what to expect in the course and technicality. And
yeah, and I sort of blocked it out. I did not remember quite how hard this race was, but compared to the first time I did it, I felt a lot stronger out there today, even though I was surprised by how much climbing there was for whatever reason.
That reflected, as you mentioned, in the result. I mean, you were like 20 minutes quicker today, and if you're out here, in the mud year, probably similar elevation gain, but you're quite a bit stronger, fitter on the day than you were 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling pretty fit right now. This time off of racing from COVID has been really good for just building consistency, doing strength work, actually warming up before I go out for a run, and I feel like it's paying off at least in the 2 races I've done so far, since races have started happening again.
And it was a pretty intentional build-up on the calendar in terms of, we just mentioned that you ran really strong at Naked Bavarian, but that the times were maybe similar between this one and that one.
Yeah. The Naked Bavarian was just kind of like, it's a course that really caters to my strengths. And so it was like it was supposed to be a fun race to just like get back on my feet after a long time off from COVID cancellations. But the original goal was to be building up towards Vermont 100 in July. Obviously that just got canceled, so I'm looking around for other stuff to get on the calendar in that time frame.
In Vermont, I mean, you definitely would have been going for it, right? I mean, you would have been in the front.
Yeah, I hesitate to say this, but I would really like to go after the course record at Vermont 100.
Which is, what's the course record there?
Supported, it's like 16 something. It's pretty quick. I think it's like just under 17 hours. But I've done that race a couple of times. It was my first 100, so it feels like a good place to try and crush it, I guess.
Yeah. And that one, so you also mentioned then without Vermont, you're considering maybe Virgil in the fall.
Yeah, I think I am going to sign up for Virgil. It'll be nice to do a fall 100. The weather tends to be good around then. But I would like to get something else in the July-August time frame. There's just not a lot going on right now that looks interesting to me, that's on the East Coast and accessible, so I got to do some poking around.
And it would seem like, so when you say your strengths, what's
runnable.
Yeah, so in that sense, I feel like Virgil will probably be a good match. Like Virgil obviously has a lot more elevation gain, quite a bit more than like Vermont, but I feel like in terms of terrain, it's very runnable. Like there are some steeps and maybe you shouldn't be running, but footing-wise, technically you can run it all.
Well, and that's actually one of the things that was intriguing to me when Amelia texted and said, hey, I'm doing Virgil in the fall. Are you interested? When I was reading the course description and you had said, like, it's a very runnable 100-miler, but it still has a pretty significant amount of elevation. I was like, this seems like something I'm interested in.
Yeah. Now, if only we can find some competition out there, so to speak, I guess, is Amelia considering the 100 out there?
Yeah, I think she is. Yeah. She's good competition.
Cool. All right. Well, you looked great today. It'll be good to have you in the back half, and nice work on a big effort and PR here.
Thank you. Great race. Thank you.
And then in the men's field, it was pretty great to see this shaking out and to see it mix up a little bit. Byron Critchfield took it out pretty solid over the front half. I think Ben Nephew caught up to him around maybe 14 miles, and around 17, Andy Vermilyea caught up to and just kept motoring. All of them have been on the Breakneck Point course before and run pretty well, and both, at least Ben and Andy, both set their PRs and had incredible runs for themselves both this year. So I'm going to let them both take us through how it was out there. Ben, second place finisher on the marathon and day. Take us through it. All right, Ben, man, nice work. What was your time today?
I don't even know. My watch died, but it's like 450-ish.
Okay,
maybe?
So still like ballpark. You're often in the 440s out here?
No, I don't know if I've broken 5.
Oh, really?
I didn't run. So the course record's like now like just below 440, and I wasn't anywhere close.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't Liam was just out there.
He was out there, and someone was with him, and I wasn't anywhere close to them. So I don't know if I've broken. I mean, I haven't just looked at my results recently, but it could have been a PR.
So then tell me how the day shake out?
Well, it started fast, so Byron was really pushing it early on. I tried to stay in touch with him, but definitely by the time we got to the top of Breakneck, he was gone, and I didn't see him, and I had no idea how far ahead he was. And based on like how hard he was pushing, and I kind of deliberately backed off a little bit for self-preservation. I didn't expect to be that close, but we came into the halfway point, and he was like, running out of the field when I was running it. So he couldn't have been more than like a minute ahead. So I knew that, I was running pretty close to him. And then we started the big climb, leading up to 17, and it's pretty tight in there, so I couldn't really see him at all. And I kind of thought that, maybe he saw me and like took off. But we got into some of the tight section, and I didn't realize he was close to me until he was like
there,
right ahead of me. And I thought it was a bear or something. It was him like a couple turns ahead of me. So I think I probably caught up with him. Oh, because I asked him. My watch was dead. I asked him what mileage we were at. We were at 15.5. And so I ran with him from 15.5 to 17, which I had no idea where that aid station was. I was like, where are we?
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, at least we're at 17. And right before we got there, Andy was probably like only a minute or two behind me.
At the turnaround.
Yep. And so he said, see you later. And sure enough, at 17.
I'll see you later.
Yep, he saw us later. And he was definitely at a different pace. And so he passed me, passed Byron, and then tore out of the aid station, at the same pace he'd been running. And I was able to increase the effort and stay with him. And we probably ran together until he was 21. So it must have been like 2 miles after that, he turned his ankle a little bit, and I passed him, and thought like, well, this is not going to be an easy course to
come back from with a torn ankle or whatever.
Yeah, so I didn't know how.
And that's the Hoka versus the Innovate on the roll.
You'd think, but I know he's got tricky ankles, so I've seen that happen before. But so I pulled out, and then he came back like 2-3 miles later, like back from the dead, as strong as he was before. And at that point, we were just getting to the downhill to the finish. And he's always super strong on the down.
So you were through together like to the saddle or whatever, and
oh yeah. So I saw him behind me at mile 21 at the aid station, and then I kept him at bay probably for 2 miles after that. The last downhill probably starts at 23.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was just like ready to go. Like as soon as it went downhill, he was just like.
So what's your mentality? That you've seen him go before, and you're like, I can hang, or it's like, man, I can't hang with him in the finish?
I had the energy to hang, but we'd both been struggling with cramps early on. Earlier on. You know that weird rock outcropping that you have to go around mile 19 or 20?
Yeah, out around.
I cramped there. My hamstrings cramped there like every time. And I guess the same thing happened to him.
Every time, like every year here or whatever?
Yeah, every time I run that section at Breakneck. Yeah. No, it's kind of funny. And I think, I've been with Ian Ridgway, and we both struggled up
same thing
after that.
Yep.
You just feel it. But so we were both struggling there, but when he passed me going Mach 90 on the downhill, and I really needed to get up on my toes and go,
yeah.
It was full blast. My calf started to
not up. Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, yep, that's just not happening. And so I kind of nursed them as much as I could, which probably only took 2 or 3 minutes, but at that point he had a good lead.
Good separation.
There was no way
you could reel him back in with his.
Because I would have had to run 5-minute pace. I don't know what his last splits were, but have seen this, happen before. He's always a strong finisher, unless he rolls his ankle. And then this was like deja vu at Manitou's when he set the course record. I was with him right at the top of the last descent, and he put 3 minutes on me in 3 miles, and I was not like dying.
Yeah.
It was moving well. I mean, we were both under the old course record. I think we were. But he was a solid like 3 minutes and 3 miles. So yeah, I don't know. Will he end up like a minute or two ahead of me, or?
Yeah, I didn't look at the time, but
Okay.
my guess is it was right around there.
Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, that was. I mean, I gave it my best shot. Charlie at the last corner, a half mile from the finish, was like, "You got a half mile, you can catch him."
Are you sure?
I couldn't see him at that point, and I'm like, "Sure." I'm like, yeah, that'll be interesting.
I throw down a
Like, did he
158
fall?
half marathon.
Yeah, I was
or
thinking
half 800. Yeah.
800. Yep. If I just go full track mode. Yeah.
Well, all right. So you still might have had a PR in the day. I mean, you're pretty close. I mean, this
think
was a
so.
good day.
I don't know if I've actually ever, like I said, I don't know if I've actually ever run under 5 hours, because the years that I've run well, it's been
So maybe you
hot.
were like 504, maybe, or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think that was when they set the course record. I think they like destroyed it.
Yeah.
And
But also different courses. I mean, some of your years were like long. Yep.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So time-wise, I think this was better than I ran the same. On the.
So that's awesome. I mean, your fitness. I mean, hopefully that's some confidence building right here.
Yeah.
I mean, what else were you already thinking of from here? What do you?
Yeah, I mean, mostly FKTs. I've just been pretty hesitant on racing. I mean, I rolled over this from last year, and I haven't been like, I'm not real big on lotteries.
Yeah.
So I didn't even like try to get into some
others.
races that
Yep.
were going to have lotteries, but and I've been enjoying the FKTs as well. So yeah, I was actually just talking with Joshua Reed about maybe doing an Outback on the Devil's Path, and if since I'm not doing Manitou's, and things like that. But yeah, there's a few different routes, and then just biking with my son. So.
Yeah, cool. And that's been cool to see in terms of the quality time, and
Right.
and it's been so much quality time. And they're like, is Ben actually running? Is he getting in any training, or is he?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of it changed over the past year. I was definitely, my mileage was really low, and I realized that I raced Blue to Blue in Connecticut last year, and that was great for 3 hours. And then my lack of mileage caught up with me.
I know how that goes. Yeah.
That was not fun. So yeah, I mean, I think I can find a happy balance there. Yeah, and still.
Well, cool. Well, that's good to see that you are finding, I guess, the balance, and that maybe it's not as intense, but your performance is as good, if not better, at least out here as a metric.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, I was always kind of focused more on quality more than quantity, and it's even like
More so.
further now.
Yeah.
So, I'm doing quality hills, trying to get speed in, but probably not enough given my size. I mean, it felt like I just needed to get on the track and start ripping 400s. I mean, it was like, to compete with that.
You need to be doing repeat 67 quarters.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the biking helps, but you gotta have a good base of mileage for something like this. If I was racing like half marathon trail races, I could probably get away with it.
Yeah.
Easier, much easier. But yeah, this I need my quality long runs, and I have been getting those.
Cool.
So,
Well, good job, man.
Yeah.
Well done.
thanks.
And then Andy, the winner on the day. I was really stoked to see him come out of the, when I met him up prior to the finish, coming in through the woods. I just wasn't expecting it. And for all of you who don't know Andy, Andy is just a really genuine and wonderful individual. Pretty humble, soft-spoken, and just incredibly tough distance and mountain runner. So Andy, take us through your day.
I want to start off by just saying thanks to Ian and Red Newt Racing for another great event. It's always a blast coming down to Breakneck. This was my third year coming down from Vermont, and the course always impresses. Super rocky, super steep. We have some bigger, taller mountains in Vermont, but yeah, this course, there's not much that matches it in terms of how technical it is and how steep the Breakneck, but there's multiple climbs on the course that'll test you out. So it's always a fun experience. My first time at Breakneck, I ran it in like 5.5 hours and kind of bonked and exploded along the way. And then a couple years ago, right before the pandemic, I had a 5:05, and I thought that was pretty much as fast as I could go. And I know the course gets tweaked a little bit each year, but I felt like this year was a little bit more vertical, hit a lot of the technical traverses as well as the big climbs. And so to put a 20-minute PR on that, I was certainly surprised. I haven't raced in about 1.5 years now, so I didn't really know what to expect. But maybe it was just a good long rest and taper that paid off here. Who knows? It was a super fun race this year too. The wave starts were fun because we got to see a lot of people on the course. So the first half of the course was there's tons of energy out there, seeing tons of people along the way. And there was surprisingly enough room to get around folks, and as long as you weren't in a kind of a crux of the course. So I ended up taking it kind of easy, doing my own thing like I normally try to do, especially on a shorter marathon course like this. And I think I was in 3rd or 4th after the Breakneck climb, but I could see the leaders as I came around into the halfway point. And I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm really getting warmed up now and I feel really good. I think I'm gonna end up catching these folks. And so yeah, I turned around pretty quick, and then I started to kind of push the pace a bit after the halfway point, and I caught the leaders. Ben was up there, and caught them around just before the aid station, around 16 miles. And then Ben and I started pushing the climbs really, really hard. Then unfortunately I kind of rolled my ankle, and even though I have an ankle brace on, and so I had to let Ben go for a bit, and took a couple minutes to kind of recover from that and tighten up my ankle brace so I wouldn't roll it again. And after about probably 10 minutes, I was able to start pushing again, and I could start to see Ben through the woods. Good job, man. Got really motivated, and then being downhill for the last couple minutes kind of played to my strengths in terms of rockiness and being able to push really hard there. And yeah, it was great being able to have Ben push me. It's always awesome having him out on the course. I feel like we know each other's strengths really well. And yeah, it's great to be pushed like that. As far as this year, I'm really looking forward to Manitou's again. Another awesome technical course that kind of plays to my abilities a bit. And other than that, I don't have big plans yet. We'll kind of see how it shakes out. I had a lot of fun last year, kind of doing whatever I wanted to, doing the presidential traverse 3-4 times, the hut-to-hut traverse, great range, and just kind of doing all the classic routes and not have to worry about tapering for races and this and that. And I really enjoy doing that kind of thing. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, again, thanks to Red Newt Racing, another awesome race. No frills. It's about the racing and the people and the course. And so I really appreciate that. So thanks.
All right, and then events coming up this week, May 15th. The Blood Route Ultra did start. I don't know whether they had any individuals that started in the 500 mile, but they also have 10 mile, 50K, 50 mile, 100 mile, 200 mile events that are also starting this weekend. The Manchester to Monadnock Ultramarathon in Manchester, New Hampshire, 55 miler on the 15th. Soapstone Mountain Trail Races in Stafford Springs, Connecticut, 6K, 24K on the 15th. And 2 more on the 15th. Parker Dam Trail Run in Penfield, PA, 15K, 25K. And the 6 Hours of the Reservoir in Ansonia, Connecticut, 6-hour event. And then on Sunday, May 16th, the Coventry Woods 5K and 10K Trail Challenge in Pottstown, PA is going down. On May 20th, the Infamous in Brandon, Vermont, 8-mile marathon and 88K will run. And May 22nd, Fountainhead Half Marathon and 10K in Fairfax Station, Virginia. Segahunda Trail Marathon in Vale of Three Falls in Portageville, New York. And closing out the month, we'll have a host on May 29th. In the mix will be my Cayuga Trails 50 and Lucifer's Crossing, and a host of others that we'll get into as we get closer. So that's what's been shaken in the Northeast trail running world. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for liking our YouTube channel, liking our Facebook channel, and thankful in advance to anybody who is willing to just share our links on various, I guess, your own pages as well as other social media pages that you might be affiliated with. Thanks for getting the word out there. Great job to everybody who ran this weekend, and I will catch up with you next week. See ya!